Hey everybody, this is One More Road for the Beer, the premiere episode, the show where we talk about beer, travel, food, and enjoying all those things together. In this season, we're talking about cities in Europe. We're talking about Brussels today. And with me, as always, is my beer Sherpa, Joe Stang, who's the writer of the Good Beer Guide to Belgium, and also a freelancer on various beer sites. And we're going to dive in. Hello, Joe.
Hey, Zach. How's it going, man?
So, Joe, paint us a picture of the beer scene in Brussels.
Yeah, well, like a lot of other cities around the world, things are blowing up in Brussels. You got people going crazy for variety. But as Belgium is a particularly special beer country, Belgian beer thinks a lot of itself for good reason. Obviously, it's not a place you're going to go into a lot of samey bars with a lot of the samey beers from around the world. You're going to find great Belgian beer in Brussels, in a city steeped in nostalgia with lots of fascinating architecture, lots of great food. I think it's the best eating city in the world.
Ooh, that's a bold claim there, man.
I can back it up. And some of the most interesting beers in the world. This is the heart of lambic land. So.
Right. And then that's sort of what's on trend right now, sort of around the beer craft world, is spontaneous fermentation, sours, American wild ales, and the gueuzeries, and et cetera, et cetera. So this is sort of like an epicenter, so to speak.
Exactly. And I think we should explain exactly what lambic is a bit later.
Okay.
But let's say you've gotten to Brussels, and the first thing you have to do, and then immediately get away from, is see the Grand Place. It's stunning. It's one of the most impressive city squares in all of Europe. You have the gilded guild houses and this crazy mishmash of Baroque and Gothic architecture. It shouldn't work, but it really does. And there's an effect when you are departing one of these narrow cobbled alleyways, and then the whole vista opens up into this really impressive square. Right. Take it in, take your pictures, do your little panoramic stuff, laugh at the fellow tourists, and then go find a beer somewhere else, because the places around the square are traps.
Right.
And there you can always find a great beer in any of them because it's Belgium, but you can do better.
Right. And there's also sort of a price thing, I would imagine, like a little bit of a markup for the wide-eyed tourist.
Oh, of course.
Right.
Like anywhere else.
Okay, we're standing on the Platz. We got our Instagram post. We did our selfie and all that. Which direction do we go from there?
One of the other sort of must-dos that you need to go see and then get away from is the Cantillon Brewery.
Okay.
This is probably the most visited brewery in Belgium. 10 years ago, it wasn't like that at all. 10 years ago, if you went there, you probably were going to be alone there, or maybe there was a few other tourists. But the world has discovered lambic beer, for better and for worse. So now you're going to find yourself in a rather crowded company of Americans and Italians and Japanese tourists, and everybody else is there. Which is even weirder to me is they want to hang out there all day. I don't really get that. It's a big, beautiful city full of great places to eat and drink.
Right. So Cantillon, they also have a museum tour and a cellar tour. It's an immersive experience. It's not just the tap room where you go and have a beer.
Exactly, although people are treating it that way.
Right.
It is, in fact, a museum. In fact, that's how they survived. There was a time when lambic was about to go basically extinct. And in the late 1970s, Jean Vanois here at Cantillon Brewery had a pretty brilliant idea. What if we just turn it into a museum and make it nonprofit?
Oh, wow.
And so then people were able to come and help support the operations just by paying a few, Belgian francs at the time to have a self-guided tour and have a tasting. And then it turned out to be a really brilliant move. And I think also, in a way, they've been a really great ambassador for interesting beer around the world, because brewers and thirsty people from around the world have passed through those halls and seen the big oak barrels, the big rows of barrels, and the cobwebs and spider webs everywhere. And it really leaves an impression.
It's a rite of passage almost, really, isn't it?
It is something, if you are a beer lover, that you have to do sometime.
Right. So I have a question. Is it time for a Fritz stop yet, or are we going to have to wait a little while for our palm Fritz?
How do Americans pronounce that? Le frites.
Le frites, yeah.
But frites. I always say frites because if I say fries, it doesn't really do it justice, does it?
Right.
We're talking about Belgian frites.
Frites, yeah. And even here in Berlin, we have pommes, but again, it's such a varying degree. In Belgium, it's just like...
They have great pride in how they do it.
Yeah. This is interesting because what I found about when we were in Brussels, it's fairly easy to get around, walk around. I mean, there are different parts of the city that you might have to take public transportation to in some of these cases, but it's a pretty walkable place at the end of the day.
It's very walkable. The transit's easy to work out. The ticket machines, there's a little button you can press and then suddenly everything's in English.
Right.
It's really not hard to work out. The map does look a little bit intimidating at first, like a big pile of multicolored spaghetti.
Right.
But it's pretty intuitive. And if you limit yourself just to walking, if you're only there for a couple of days, that's fine. But if you're going to be there for a longer time, then it's really pays off to explore a little bit and hop on the tram. The trams are very cool there. They have a really good tram system.
Yeah, for sure. But also, you get to walk off the beer in between the pubs as well.
Yeah, that's true. And yeah, that's right. You got to shed a layer of like corpulence and so you can eat more food.
All right. So we've been to Cantillon. We've done our sort of birth by fire in the cobwebs and the barrels. Where are we going to go, like, sit down and have our first, like, real Belgian beer?
Yeah. Well, I think you got to go to Motor Lambic. And that is, there are a lot of other cafes that I probably go to more often because Motor Lambic has a sort of a modern atmosphere, and I really like to wallow in the nostalgic kind of old-timey places. But Motor Lambic has one of the, in my opinion, most entertaining beer selections in the world. You go in and you see these, like, nearly 50 shiny soldiers beer taps down the bar and lots of booths for little conspiratorial conversations. And some people in the beer world like to say, well, we have a finely curated selection of beers. I think it's a bit pretentious. Curation is for museums, but maybe it's not too much of a stretch for this place because they really have only gone with beers that they think are great.
Right.
Nothing else gets in that front door. And they have a very highly trained staff who pours everything perfectly and can tell you about it in a very polite way, which is a lost art in some places. And they speak English if they, although they're very patient with bad French, I've learned. So
where are we in the city right now? Like, are we sort of still centralized or are we out in a neighborhood?
This is Place Fontanes. There's actually two Motor Lambics. The original one is in Saint-Gilles. It's a neighborhood. And that's a neighborhood bar with great beer. I recommend the detour if you have time. But the Fontanes is very easy to get to if you're just having a quick visit to the city. It's in the center. It's a few blocks from the Mannequin Piece and a couple more from the Grand Place. So it's not hard to get to at all. I think we have to talk about Lambic. Yeah, because we've talked about Cantillon, which is a Lambic brewery.
Right.
And we talked about Motor Lambic, which means mother Lambic.
Right. So what is Lambic then? Because it's a sour beer. I mean, that's what you hear first, but there's more nuance than just, it's sour.
Yeah, it's so much more than that. It's sour, but it's a good one. It's balanced anyway, even though it is sour. And there's a lot of things going on there. So spontaneous fermentation is the key. That's the magic, which just means that they don't add extraneous yeast to the beer. They have a kind of archaic mash process. And it's about 30 to 40% wheat. And then it takes most of the day to do it because of this old-fashioned process. And then they pump it up into a big, shallow copper tray called a cool ship.
Cool name.
Cool word for cool ship, yeah. And the local air blows over it at night, along supposedly with there's a whole ecosystem in the rafters and the wood of micro critters that somehow affect or infect the wort.
So it's wild yeast at the end of the day.
It is wild yeast for sure, but it's very carefully sort of selected and controlled wild yeast. For example, the spiders, the whole story of the spiders and the webs in the brewery is that they keep the flies and the bugs down the population. So they're also part of this ecosystem, supposedly.
Wow.
How much of that's true, I don't know. Makes a cool story, and that's what we really care about.
Yeah.
So the next morning, they pump it into oak barrels, which sometimes in some breweries, they're huge. In Cantillon, they're more like what you consider normal size wine barrels. And they're repurposed wine barrels.
Right. And so, like, when we're there, you see, like, it looks like a wine barrel, but then you see these huge ones. They call them foeders?
Foeders, yeah.
Foeders, right. Yeah. And they're, like, twice as tall as you sort of thing. Yeah,
that's right. We should mention that Cantillon it's not the only lambic brewery in Belgium. Brussels is, there's a region that hugs Brussels called Peyottenland, and that is really the heart. I mean, that is lambic land. So there's another handful of breweries and blenders out there that are still doing something that almost died out about 20 years ago.
And so it gets in the barrel. And how long does it stay in there and what's going on in the barrel? That's where I'm guessing where the spontaneous fermentation starts, right?
Yeah. Well, so the simple version of the story is that it's that air from the Sena River Valley that makes it all work. I think the reality is it's in the barrel. There are little bugs in those barrels, not real bugs, but microflora, microfauna, we say. Right. And they work the magic over up to 3 years. So if you're having an unblended lambic somewhere, and we'll tell you where, at Motor Lambic, for example, you can get it, that's going to be between 1 and 2 years old normally. Right. If you're having a bottle of gueuze, which is rather special, a blend of 1, 2, and 3 year normally, and it sparkles like champagne, it comes out of a corked bottle, usually, then that's a little bit more complicated, a really complex drink, really interesting. Not for everybody at first. It's challenging taste. but I think it's an acquired taste, and I think it's an addictive one.
Yeah, I feel like with the gueuze, there's a little more of the farmhouse funk somehow comes out, and it gets a little grassier, and you get a little more of the orchard. For me, anyway, where it's just like there's that champagne dryness as well, which sort of cuts pretty hard, and that's kind of hard to get used to because nobody drinks a bottle of champagne and it's like, oh my god, I love this. It's all acquired taste.
Yeah, I mean, for something so tart and so dry, it shouldn't be as drinkable as it is.
Oh, but on a summer day, man, just throw that stuff back.
And for someone who hasn't smelled or tasted it the way I describe it, an authentic one, it's a bit like taking a fresh grapefruit, putting it into an old sweaty gym sock, then thrashing it around an old barn, like a musty old barn. And then so what would that smell like? That's pretty much like what a good gueuze smells like.
Oh, delicious, Joseph. Delicious. Okay, so now we know what lambic is. It's quasi-white beer that has spontaneous fermentation from the air that is through the Seine Valley. And so we're in Mortar Lambic. We're sitting down. There's 50 taps in front of us. Where do we start?
Well, I think you got to have a lambic, right?
Right.
They have it there. They have the lambic from Cantillon. They have unblended, and that is going to be soft, tart, lemony, educational. Mm. If you want something with a bit more pizzazz, you can go for a gueuze in a bottle or on draft. And on draft is a pretty untraditional thing to do, but it's turned out to be pretty popular among people who don't care about such.
Does it mellow it a bit?
I think so, yeah, because it's chilled and carbonated. But I think anytime, it's going to come out of a keg. It's probably going to be cold. That's going to mellow it. If it was the same temperature as you're pulling a bottle of gueuze out of the cellar, would it be as mellow? I don't know. I haven't really tried it.
Okay.
I do know when I first saw this gueuze on draft, I thought, oh, that's not right. It's not supposed to be like that. It's supposed to be in a bottle. Everyone says it's supposed to be in a bottle. And then I tried it and it's like, oh, that's good.
Roll with the punches, as they say.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The one to get there, besides the Cantillon, which is wonderful, is Tilcam, is a blender in Wallonia, just on the French side of the language divide from Peyottenland. And he does a wonderful, light, refreshing, sub 5% strength draft gueuze that I have to get one of those every time I go.
That's almost sessionable. That's something
sure.
You can drink 2 or 3 of, maybe.
If you can afford it, yeah.
Right. And so what is the sort of price point for that then at the bar?
I think it's probably 25 or 30 centiliter glasses. I think it's probably €4.
Right.
But if you go out into the countryside in Peyottenland, you can get Schredden gueuze or a glass of unblended Schredden lambic for €2. So the people who are paying crazy, crazy money for bottles of gueuze in the States, abroad, because they don't have any choices or don't know any better or just think they have to have it, I feel sorry for them. I think they should save that money and buy a plane ticket.
Right.
And drink enough in Belgium and the trip pays for itself, man.
For sure, especially now with budget airlines. It's what you buy 4 bottles, 5 bottles of some of this stuff in the US and you have one way already.
Yep. I hate packing bottles, to be honest.
Yeah, that's true too.
I bring the memories home.
Right. I like that sort of, so much of about the experience of drinking beer is the place. It's the people behind the bar pouring the beers who really, truly care. And it's the people around you coming in there every day or every weekend to experience this place and this beer. And as you said, when you take that home and you're sitting in your lounge or your backyard, is it the same?
No, but you can remember when you were there and you can brag about it.
Nostalgia.
Cool. But then you start thinking, damn it, I really need to go back.
Right. So that's good too. Okay, so we know what lambic is. We've tried one. We've tried a gueuze. And now maybe our head's probably getting a little bit light.
Yeah, right? We're on vacation, right? So
right.
We want to kick it up a notch and get loose. Another beer that I like to drink anywhere, not just there, they have on tap, is De Rank Guldenberg. And this is a brewery that's in the far west of Wallonia. It's really close to the language divide also, so it's almost West Flanders. It's almost at the French border. And they are a pretty special little brewery because they use only hops from a local farm and all whole hops, all whole flower hops.
Okay.
And a lot of hops. And most breweries would think this is nuts because the hops soak up a lot of liquid, so it's kind of inefficient, but it's the way everybody used to brew if you think about it. Now everybody's using pellets and extracts and stuff these days, and if you're going to make craft beer, artisanal, well, take it seriously, use
for sure.
So that's their viewpoint, and that's not why they do it. They do it because they think it makes for better beer, and I have to agree.
Are we sort of getting into like a IPA hoppiness here, or is it something different entirely?
It's all relative, and there are different kinds of bitterness as well, right? So even if you have the same technically amount of bitterness, one could be smoother, one could be more harsh. All of these beers are quite bitter, but also quite smooth at the same time.
Okay.
And it's the same also for Brasserie de la Seine, which is the local Brussels brewery that we have to talk about too. The Goldenberg is about 8% strength.
Ooh.
It's something like a triple. It's a triple style ale. It's a strong, bittersweet, dry hopped, complex. I want to drink another one, but I shouldn't because that was 8% kind of beer.
Right. Sounds like those pommes frites are getting a little more tastier after something like that. So you just said you mentioned somewhere we have to talk about.
The Brasserie de la Seine. Yeah, and as it happens, there's a place around the corner. Used to be able to get those beers at Motor Lambic, not anymore. That's a long gossipy story that we don't care about. Around the corner is another, really one of the world's great beer cafes. It's right across from Mannequin Peace, who's the little urinating boy that everyone likes to go take selfies with and pictures of. It's Brussels' great practical joke on the world, this thing. And right across the street is a place that, given its location, it ought to be a tourist trap, but it's really, really not. The Peschanellenkelder, which means the puppet cellar,
right,
is good old-fashioned. I mean, I like bars with lots of stuff and kitsch and knickknacks on the walls.
I was going to say, this is pure kitsch.
Yeah, but it's
pure joy on the menu.
It's thematic. It fits, you know, you may see an old wartime newsletter, a resistance newsletter of Mannequin pissing on a Nazi flag, for example. Nice. But the main thing is there's marionettes hanging everywhere, and some of them are truly creepy, like their eyes seem to follow you around the bar. And
okay, so very on brand.
Yeah, you got it. Belgium excels this kind of thing, the fantasy and the kitsch and the knickknacks, and Peschanellenkelder is like the world champion of that kind of bar. Yeah,
right on. The thing I love about this bar, like I've never actually sat inside and drank. I've always sat out and sort of people watched on the little corner plots they have there because of the Mannequin Piss is right
perfect.
there. So
yeah,
and it's so entertaining. Just everyone running up, being like, "I'm getting a picture," and it's like I don't know. I'll just keep drinking some, Orval or whatever.
Yeah, as tourists, I don't know why we enjoy watching tourists so much, but it's really entertaining. Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing they always have on tap at Peschanellenkelder, almost always anyway, is the Taras Bulba from Brasserie de la Seine.
Yes.
And I guess we're going back to session beer now, but it's 4.5% strength. It's also dry. It's very hoppy, but it's not the kind of bitterness that sticks on your tongue. It's a real kind of smooth, spicy, herbal and zesty aroma and flavor there going on. And it's weirdly addictive. I think in this current beer climate where all the craft stuff smells like tropical fruit, this is really refreshing for me to go back to something a little more like continental.
Oh, it doesn't taste like guava and pineapple.
Yeah,
Which is nice sometimes, don't get me wrong, but like
once in a while. Not everything has to smell like that.
No, exactly. It's the variety is what's important. It's really weirdly chill place, this bar, because you would, like you said, you would expect it to be just crammed, but everybody that doesn't know just walks by.
Yeah. I mean, it can get busy, but I don't remember ever having a problem getting a table there.
Yeah, which is it's almost inexplicable given the location.
Yeah. And you can eat there too, if in a pinch. I mean, the food is totally fine. It's like what I would call classic Belgian pub food, which it's not like we think of pub food. It's not like hot chicken wings and burgers and stuff. It's classic Belgian pub food means croques, like those grilled ham and cheese sandwiches, or sometimes with a fried egg on top, which is great.
Yeah,
it's good beer food. Or a big steaming bowl of spaghetti bolognese, and in Belgium, spaghetti bolognese is as Belgian as New York pizza is American.
Okay.
I mean, it's recognizable, but it's kind of a special thing there. It's a classic student food, classic bar food. You're going to get real skinny noodles like spaghettini or whatever. The meat sauce often has bacon worked up in there and different veggies, whatever is handy from the kitchen. And there's going to be a mountain of Gruyere cheese on top, shredded up. And the cool student thing to do is slather hot sauce all over it. And it's great. I mean, for the Belgians call that a snack.
Wow.
The rest of the world, that's a full meal, but for Belgium, that's a
dinner.
Snack. That's how they roll.
I'm really into this because this is one of the most unexpected things that you would never associate Belgium with.
When we lived there, I went a few years without trying it because I was like, why would I want to eat spaghetti?
Right.
And then I finally did it, and I got it.
You got it.
Because it's one of the most comforting things that you can possibly eat in the whole world. So, yeah.
And you got me with the pile of Gruyere and hot sauce. That's pretty good. So speaking of food, I found there's kind of an elevated beer food culture there as well, where it's not just, the comfort foods, but there's food built around beer in a way.
For sure. They do a lot of beer cooking. So cuisine à la bière, where they're using beer with certain dishes. There's I think a discussion to be had whether it actually enhances a dish or it's just gimmicky. I don't really care. It's good.
As long as it's good, right?
If the kitchen's good, then it doesn't matter one way or
Right.
the other. So and it's fun. It sounds good, to say I had this, boar stew in a dark ale sauce. It's wonderful, sure.
And that's kind of transcends culture. I mean, you get Guinness stew in Ireland, and you get goulash has, a Cherny Boudoir poured into the sauce and to use beer. So
right, yeah. I mean, in the classic example in France, you have the beef bourguignon cooked with red wine, but it's carbonade or stoofvlees in Belgium, just cooked with dark ale instead of red wine, but it's basically the same.
Yeah, and I've praised off like pork roast with just beer. And just, throw it in and braise it off, and it sort of caramelizes down.
I mean, liquid's liquid, and beer's better than water, so.
Exactly, more flavors.
Yeah.
Okay, so where would you go to get like one of these beer meals?
Right. So if I had to narrow it down to one place, and we'll tell you where you can find the spellings of all these places and addresses at the end. But Newton-Eganif, again, we're just going around the corner again. So all these places are pretty close to each other. Because we're assuming you got a 1 or 2 nights and you got to hit these spots, right? Newton-Eganif was started by some local younger folks who wanted to have a restaurant like the kind that they like to eat in, which basically didn't exist. So they shaped this place. There's an Art Nouveau facade, and there's an Art Deco kind of interior, but it's small, and they don't take reservations. So my suggestion is go with 1 or 2 people. Don't try to go with 6, or you may be disappointed. But if you're 1 or 2, you can virtually always slide in there somewhere. And they have a knockout beer list, and they have great cooking. I mean, I've just never been disappointed with a meal there. You can get real hearty, like the boar stew I mentioned before. They've got rabbit cooked in cherry beer, and these sort of things you might see around. The thing I always go for is the blumpunch. It's a special kind of blood sausage, special to Brussels. That's got thick veins of fat in there. It's kind of got a delicate bready texture, a little bit sweet, but deeply savory, and they slice it nice and thick. And usually serve it with stewed apples. The classic thing to drink with it would be a glass of kriek, which is a lambic beer steeped in cherries.
Ooh, okay. So you get that whole fruity thing going on with the orchard of the apples and the cherry, and then you get the like minerally blood and the grains in there as well. Sounds delicious.
And you keep asking about the frites, man. These are some of the best restaurant frites. They're always really crispy and fresh and
Right.
Great. So you get the blumpunch and the frites, a glass of great beer, and I mean, that's heaven. What else is there?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's also probably worth pointing out that the frites are usually fried in beef tallow or some sort of animal fat.
Yes.
Which
normally they should
so
be.
Good. As well they should be, yes. As the McDonald's fries used to be back in the days. So this is great, man. One of the things I love about places like that as well, which I found that I didn't know I would love, is the pate. And just the fact that you can get like a proper serving, like dinner-sized serving of pate with just some bread and maybe some pickles. And I never again would have thought like, oh yes, I do want a dinner-sized serving of pate for my meal.
Yeah, it's great. And if you're on a shoestring type budget and you're staying in I mean, that's great self-catering, man. Stop by a shop, grab a couple of great beers, get a jar of pate and a crusty baguette.
And you've not even spent $10 yet.
Exactly.
So we got a full belly. We want to hit the town, and we want to really sort of start diving into some funky new stuff. What would you go for?
Now, this is where we get like an infinite range of possibility, right?
Right.
I mean, there's so much up there. But I think one of the places I would suggest, particularly for someone who hasn't been to Brussels before and is interested in sort of the history and the art, you could go up to a bar basically up the hill called the Fleur en Papier Doré, which is the gold-papered flower.
Is that a walk or a tram?
It's a walk, yeah. From Pushenellikelle, for example, 5 minutes.
Oh, okay.
It's, blocked down straight up the hill, and it is a surrealist bar. It's where Magritte really actually used to hang out. There was a whole school of, there was like a surrealist club. I don't know. I mean, how much did they talk about intellectual stuff and how much were they just drinking? I don't really know. I actually, there was, part of the surrealism thing was that the drinking stimulated the mind and drugs and alcohol sort of helped them get to this other level of consciousness. So, although there was some...
You're saying you got to get drunk here.
No, but you could. You don't need to. I think that would be uncouth.
All drink responsibly.
Yeah, but it's there's cool things scrawled on the walls that have been there forever, saying like the translation from French would be, "No one is as foreign to me as I am to myself."
That sounds very deep.
Contemplate that while having a glass of a lambic from Oud Bersel or a big strong Trappist beer. And
what is a Trappist beer exactly? Like it has to be made by monks, right?
Yeah.
But there's fake ones
Well, you can't be fake Trappist anymore. They crack down on that.
Oh, they crack down, okay.
But the Trappist breweries are overseen by monks. The monks are responsible for the brewing. That doesn't mean they're actually in the brew house with the mash fork.
Okay.
In fact, they rarely are. But they are overseeing it. They're responsible for it. And the funds of the brewery go to the monastic community.
So it would be common for them to hire in people to come and do their brewing.
Almost invariably. That is almost entirely a lay workforce in almost every case, yes.
So I've heard this, I don't know if this is a myth or just misinformation, but you have Trappist beers, and if they don't have a monk on them, they're from an actual monastery. But if they have a monk on them, it's from just a brewery who's sort of saying, oh, well, we want to hit on this idea.
There's something to that, because the Trappist breweries would never put a monk on the label. I don't know why, but they wouldn't. It's a bit too cartoony. Yeah. It's not classy.
Right.
But the abbey breweries that are sort of inspired by the Trappist brewing, they for sure will throw a monk on there.
Right. So it's abbey breweries.
Yeah, that's what we say, abbey breweries.
Okay.
They had to work that out, 30 years ago or something, when the Trappists cracked down on use of that word. We'll just call them abbey breweries. And some of them actually do come from abbeys that are not Trappist abbeys. But more often, it's the idea of a style that's following these Trappist ales. Okay. Which tend to be strong, relatively light in body, digestible, we say, digestible. Yeah. And they tend to be a little bit sweet, a little bit spicy. You shouldn't be able to taste what spices are in there. Not that spicy, but adds a little edge, a little complexity. And, a lot of the most famous ones are quite strong.
Yeah, like the triples and quadruples that you sort of like knock you on your ass after one.
Yeah, well, we don't say quadruple.
Okay, sorry.
That's like an American Dutch invention.
Well noted for the next time I'm in Belgium. It's sort of the funny thing about Belgium is it's kind of like you can't throw a stone without hitting somebody drinking beer. And that kind of almost becomes a little overwhelming because it's like there's so much choice. And if you only have, a few days, a weekend, and, you're on your way to Amsterdam or Paris or wherever, there's a real big fear of missing out there. It's like, oh, if I heard about this place, I heard about that place. Like, if you were there for just like the night, what's the one next bar you would definitely go to spend the rest of your night, sort of thing?
Yeah. So I have a favorite. This is real secret stuff here. This is like, now we're going deep. This is deep track. There's a cafe on Boulevard Ansbach. This is cat corner from the Bourse, which is the big neoclassical stock market building. That's sort of if you're looking at a map of central Brussels, that's sort of the center in a way. And the bar is called Les Brasseurs. And it's a very old-fashioned cafe. It's very inexpensive, particularly for that location in the middle of Brussels. You get a sort of 1920s atmosphere, maybe even earlier. It's got some kind of classic, what we call brown cafe features, wooden paneling and long benches and mirrors. And over the bar is a big chalkboard where 50 beers are scrawled in cursive. I mean, 50 sounds like a lot, but for Belgium, that's sort of like, that's quite a few, But they're really good ones. They've got the beers from Brasserie de la Seine. They've got good lambic beers. They have one of my favorites called Lupulus. It's a big, strong, hoppy blonde beer. And they also have lambic. They have a unblended lambic on draft from the Bone Brewery, which is one of the great revivalists of the traditional lambic beer.
Right on. What's the sort of price point there? Is it like the average, you're going to be spending between 3 and 5 per beer, or is it it just really depends on what you want to drink?
I mean, you can get a glass of Bone Lambic, I think, maybe for $2.50 there.
Oh, wow.
Maybe $3. And it's a small glass, but to get something that's really so special and takes years to make, you're in the middle of Brussels, and but that's what it should cost. That's what I want it to cost, I should say. I like this idea that it was once a working class drink, and there it's still affordable. Or you can have a Taras Bulba for a few euros, or a Cinnabier.
Like, you're not breaking the bank on a €20 bottle.
No. Not there.
Yeah.
No.
What I sort of like about this place as well, correct me if I'm wrong, but during the summer, there's outdoor seating on the plots.
Yeah, a little smoky terrace.
Yeah, so you kind of, again, you can people watch, let the sun shine down.
Yeah.
Let the day while away, the night while away.
It'll be nicer when right now Boulevard Ansbach is a big construction site. So, but I've seen the artist renderings, and it'll never get to that. But if it gets half there, it'll be quite pleasant to sit out there and have a beer.
Right. So let's say, okay, we had a great night. Let's say we're waking up in the morning, we're running for the train, but we want to hit a beer shop and stock up on a few things for the road while we're, on our way to Berlin or Amsterdam. Is there any place you could recommend that would be well worthwhile to grab a few beers in like a one-stop shop?
Yeah, that's tricky. It depends where you're staying as a hotel, right?
Right.
So, but if you're in the center, I mean, the Beer Temple is a pretty good go-to. They have a pretty wide selection, but you're going to pay, the prices are not great. Here, a little tip is you can find a Deleuze supermarket, and they have a pretty good selection, actually. You're going to get good lambic from Alberzel sometimes and beers from Narul, and the prices are really affordable. And so that's where I would go. Supermarket,
yeah. So we're on our way out of town. Let's say we're using the train station, hypothetically. Where would we grab our last beer by the train station before we got on our train?
Oh, I know what you want to bring up. You want to bring up Petit Filou. Yeah,
that's right.
So it's a good example of a nice little typical locals cafe, and it's right by. It's really close to Gare Centrale, the central station. It's small. It's reasonably wooded, so it feels kind of old fashioned. And they have it's not a wide selection of beers, but they tend to have a few from Brasserie Dupont. So you can have a Saison Dupont or a Bec Le Bon Vu, really kind of rustic, very drinkable, classy beers. And of course, you can. It's hard to go wrong there if you just ask for a tip and see what they give you. And yeah,
great thing as well is next door you can grab a sandwich for your train from like a guy who's just like a sandwich Zen master.
Yeah, that guy, it's like it's this really dinky little sandwich shop, and that guy's been #1 on restaurants and TripAdvisor for ages because he's so nice.
Right.
He's just so nice. And sandwiches are good, but it's like you just come out of there with a warm feeling because he's so nice. Yeah, sandwich man.
Sandwich man. He'll make you happy. Well, I think that's a pretty good introduction to Brussels. Is there anything you think we missed that you'd like to add? Any closing thoughts?
Well, for hotels, you could look at the Hotel Zoom or the Vintage. These are the only two kind of seriously beery hotels in town. They have bars with lots of beers on them. They have a very cool, funky, retro style. It's a good price, and that's up by the Place Louise area. And it's an easy walk down the hill from there to all of these bars we've been talking about.
Very good tip. Also, when you say like a beer hotel, like they'll have a nice beer bar in the hotel, so you could literally kind of have your pregame there, so to speak, before you walk down the hill or walk into town. Yeah,
I mean, I've stayed in different places, and it's shocking how many places, they have a little bar, and you look at the beers and like, do you even know what country you're in? Just right. They don't seem to care. But a couple of places are taken a little bit more seriously. They know a lot of people are coming to Brussels mainly for the beer. Not everybody are as weird as we are, but a lot of people are as weird as we are, and that's what they want.
So last question. What sauce do you get on your Fritz?
Right. I used to be a samurai man.
Spicy.
I like it spicy, but I found that if you're going to work your way through the whole cone, the samurai gets a little bit old after about halfway down. I kind of go straight mayo.
Straight mayo.
Yeah.
Old school.
Not too much. And, plenty of salt. And yeah.
So that was our pilot episode from here in the studio in Berlin. You probably found us on iTunes or Google Play or Stitcher. Please subscribe, comment, like, download as much as you can. We're going to be traveling around all of Europe talking about all the great beer destinations. You can follow us on Twitter at Road for the Beer. You can also follow us on Instagram at One More Road for the Beer. And please leave comments there, and we'll try to do our best to get back to you and start a conversation about these places. Also, look for the show notes at thirstypilgrim.com, which is Joe's main blog. You'll also be able to find show notes at Uprock's Life, which is where I work as the senior writer for Food, Drink, and Travel. That's uprocks.com and thirstypilgrim.com. And Christmas is coming up, and you know what a great gift would be? The Good Beer Guide to Belgium.
Thank you, Zach. I appreciate that.
So this is episode number 1. That's it. It was engineered and edited by Tesscard in Berlin, produced by Joe and Zach. Goodbye, Joe.
Bye, Zach.